Hello and welcome to Spoiler Corners. Today, we will be delving into the story of one of the most iconic and beloved protagonists of the shonen genre, Monkey D. Luffy. Luffy was born in the Fuxia village of the Goa Kingdom and spent his childhood there until the age of 7. It was during this time that Luffy encountered the captain of the red-haired pirates, Shanks, who would later become his role model. Shanks had come to the East Blue to recruit Yasopp and undertake other tasks, the specifics of which are not entirely clear. It is estimated that Luffy was around 6 years old when he first met Shanks. As the grandchild of the marine hero Monkey D. Garp, Luffy spent his early years in a happy environment and was beloved by the villagers. During his time in Fuxia village, Luffy spent his days training and visiting Makino's bar, where he would eventually encounter his future idol, Shanks. After meeting Shanks, Luffy became increasingly fascinated with the world of pirates and repeatedly asked Shanks to take him aboard his ship. However, Shanks consistently rejected Luffy, telling him that he was still just a child and needed to become a man before setting sail with him. Even Makino, who had become a surrogate mother figure to Luffy, advised him to give up on his dream of sailing with Shanks. In an attempt to prove his toughness and maturity, Luffy stabbed himself beneath his left eye, an incident that would later become an iconic trait associated with him. Despite this, when Luffy spent time with Shanks and his crew, he continued to plead with Shanks to take him aboard his ship, insisting that he was a strong fighter and that his fists were as powerful as a pistol due to his training. However, Shanks responded with disappointment, informing Luffy that becoming a pirate was impossible for him, as he couldn't even swim. Luffy reacted aggressively, questioning whether Shanks doubted his abilities. Despite this, Shanks remained firm in his decision, unwilling to take Luffy on as a crew member at that time. Shanks' crew, including Lucky Roo, Yasopp, Lime Juice, and Bonk Punch, fueled Luffy's dream of becoming a pirate by describing the happy and exciting times they had experienced while sailing the seas. They spoke of the many new islands to explore and the freedom that came with being a pirate. These stories further ignited Luffy's passion for adventure and the pirate life. However, Shanks was cautious of the influence his crew was having on Luffy and instructed them to refrain from filling his head with wild and unrealistic ideas. Despite this, the crew continued to inspire Luffy with their tales of adventure, which ultimately helped him to forge his own path in the world of piracy. Despite Shanks' reluctance to take Luffy aboard his ship, some members of his crew urged him to give the young boy a chance to experience life as a pirate, even if only for a short time. However, Shanks made it clear that if he were to take Luffy, one of his current crew members would have to stay behind. Shanks also joked with Luffy, telling him that pirates don't drink milk, and informed him that he would have to wait at least 10 years for a chance to sail with him. However, Ben Beckman, one of Shanks' crew members, cautioned Luffy that the life of a pirate was not all fun and games, and that there were many dangers involved. He explained that the safety of the entire crew rested on the captain's shoulders, which was why Shanks was not willing to take on a young and inexperienced crew member like Luffy. Despite Ben Beckman's warnings, Luffy remained convinced that he had what it took to become a successful pirate, and his burning desire to set sail on the open seas only continued to grow stronger with each passing day. During their time at the bar, a group of mountain bandits entered and demanded drinks from Makino. However, she informed them that they had run out of liquor, having just served the last of it to Shanks and his crew. The bandits, doubting Makino's reply, Bandit even refused when Shanks offered him one of his bottles. One of the bandits boasted about his 8 million bounty and how he had killed 56 people, and then disrespectfully threatened not to see Shanks again. This disrespect towards Shanks incited Luffy's fury, and he berated Shanks for not standing up to the bandits and defending his honor as a pirate. Luffy believed that Shanks had disgraced himself by not fighting back and showing weakness in front of his crew and others. Shanks attempted to defuse the situation by stating that senseless killing does not define one's masculinity. It was at this moment that they discovered Luffy had consumed the devil fruit that his crew had previously stolen from the government ship. Upon ingesting the Gomu Gomu no Mi, Luffy gained the ability to stretch like rubber, yet became unable to swim. Despite this setback, Luffy remained resolute in his determination to become a pirate. However, the village mayor was opposed to this notion, raising objections to Luffy's pursuit of a life on the seas. One day, while Shanks and his crew were on a voyage, Luffy and Makino were having a conversation in a bar. During their talk, Luffy admitted that he had misjudged the strength of the Red Hair Pirates. In response, Makino told him that it takes more courage to avoid fighting. Suddenly, they were interrupted by mountain bandits who entered the bar looking for a drink. The bandits disrespected Shanks and his crew by calling them cowards. Unable to bear the insults, Luffy demanded that they take their words back and defended Shanks' honor. However, the bandits grew angry with Luffy's defiance and began to attack him. Some villagers wanted to save Luffy from the bandits, while others argued that he had provoked the fight and that they should stay out of it. The bandits threatened to sell Luffy for a good sum of money, while Makino rushed to the mayor's house for help. Meanwhile, Luffy continued to fight back against the bandits, but his efforts proved futile as he was not strong enough to take them on. The mayor eventually arrived and pleaded with the bandits not to harm Luffy, even offering them money for his safety. However, due to Luffy's insult and disobedience, Higuma, the bandit leader, was determined to kill Luffy instead of selling him. Shanks arrived on the scene, mocking Luffy's weak punch. Higuma dared Shanks to come closer, threatening to kill Luffy, while one of his men pointed a gun at Shanks' head. In a swift move, Lucky Roo took out the bandit with the gun, and Ben Beckman defeated the other bandits, except for Higuma. Higuma said Luffy started this, and Shanks replied that he couldn't tolerate the hurt of his friends and walked forward to attack him. Then, the bandit leader threw a smoke bomb and fled with Luffy on a boat. Shanks and his crew were worried about Luffy's safety, but they lost sight of the boat in the distance. Unfortunately, Higuma threw Luffy into the sea, knowing that he could not swim due to his devil fruit powers. While Luffy was struggling in the water, a sea monster attacked Higuma and killed him. When the sea monster was about to attack Luffy, Shanks arrived just in time to save him but lost his arm in the process. Luffy was devastated, feeling responsible for Shanks' injury, but Shanks comforted him. After that incident, Luffy understood why Shanks didn't want to take him out to sea, and he also realized what a great man Shanks was. After some time, Shanks and his crew prepared to set sail. Luffy came to see them off, feeling sad, but he made a promise to Shanks that he would become a pirate on his own and find the One Piece treasure to become the Pirate King. He even promised to create a better crew than Shanks. As a gift and promise keeper, Shanks gave his straw hat to Luffy and asked him to keep it safe until he became a great pirate and returned it to him. During that period, it is highly likely that Garp was on duty, as Luffy was living independently in Fuchsia Village. After Shanks departed from the village, Garp became aware of the influence that Shanks had on Luffy. As Garp did not wish for Luffy to become a pirate, he took him from Fuchsia Village to Mt. Kalubo, where he left him in the care of his friend, the former criminal Curly Dayton. Garp ordered Dayton to train Luffy to become an excellent marine. At Dayton's place, Luffy encountered another young boy named Ace, the son of the former pirate King Roger, who was also under Dayton's care. Initially, Ace despised Luffy for being clingy and even left him in the forest on numerous occasions, endangering his life. Despite the risks, Luffy persisted in following Ace, determined to befriend him. Despite Ace's attempts to dissuade Luffy by taking different and challenging paths, he could not deter Luffy. One day, Luffy managed to follow Ace to his hideout without losing sight of him, where he met another young boy named Sabo, the son of a noble from the Goa Kingdom. After discovering the treasure and hideout of Ace and Sabo, the two tied Luffy to a tree, contemplating whether they should kill him to keep their secret safe. However, they quickly realized that they had no knowledge of how to take a life. Luffy, in tears, begged for his life, revealing his weakness of being unable to swim. In the midst of his crying, Porchemy and his henchmen from the Blue Jam Pirates arrived, searching for the stolen treasure. Ace and Sabo threatened Luffy to stop his crying and hid behind a bush. Unfortunately, Luffy was soon captured by Porchemy. Porchemy demanded to know the whereabouts of Ace and Sabo, but Luffy lied. Porchemy took Luffy as a hostage to lure out Ace and Sabo. As Porchemy brutally tortured Luffy, he repeatedly asked about Ace and Sabo. Despite the immense pain, Luffy refused to give up any information about their location. Witnessing Luffy's suffering, Portuguese henchmen began to feel remorseful and urged him to stop. Some locals who witnessed the brutality also believed that they should call the sheriff. As time passed and Portuguese group failed to show up, Sabo ventured out to ascertain Luffy's situation. He soon discovered that despite being brutally tortured, Luffy had not revealed any information about Sabo and Ace's whereabouts, nor about the treasure they had stolen. As Portuguese continued to interrogate Luffy about Ace and Sabo, Luffy remained steadfast in his silence, even when he had barely enough strength to speak. When Portuguese was on the brink of killing Luffy, Ace and Sabo arrived and swiftly dispatched the assailants. They then rescued Luffy and attempted to flee, with Ace refusing to turn his back on the enemy. Luffy was deeply impressed by Ace's courage and bravery in the face of danger. After being saved by Ace and Sabo, Luffy was crying and Sabo scolded Ace for not running away from real pirates. Sabo was worried about the Blue Jam pirates and their plans to hunt them. Luffy thanked Ace and Sabo for saving his life while crying, and Ace scolded him for being a crybaby and a coward. Ace asked Luffy why he didn't tell Portuguese about him and Sabo, and Luffy replied that he wanted to protect their friendship. Ace asked Luffy why he wanted to be friends with him and why he kept following him, to which Luffy replied that he had no one else and didn't want to be alone. Luffy said he wanted Ace to stay alive, and Ace claimed he hated little kids like Luffy. Luffy explained that he was punched by a spiked club and that's why he cried, but he promised to become stronger when he turned 10. Ace doubted him and said he didn't cry when he was 7. Then all 3 young kids went to live with Dayton because they were afraid of being hunted down by the Blue Jam pirates. After their encounter with the Blue Jam pirates, Ace, Sabo, and Luffy continued to live together in the forest, fighting beasts and villains, and causing chaos in towns and cities to increase their notoriety. They sparred with each other, honing their skills and increasing their strength, all while pursuing their dreams. During one of their adventures in the city, Ace and Luffy overheard someone calling Sabo's name, which prompted them to investigate and uncover Sabo's secret. Sabo eventually revealed that he was the son of a noble and had lied to Ace and Luffy about his background. However, Luffy forgave Sabo, and the 3 brothers shared their dreams with each other. Luffy wanted to become a pirate king, Ace wanted to become a pirate to prove his worth, and Sabo wanted to see the world, write books, and learn navigation. To solidify their bond, the 3 brothers exchanged Sakazuki cups and became sworn brothers for life. Luffy lived happily with Ace, Sabo, and their mother figure Dayton in Mt. Kalubo, while the mayor, Makino, and Luffy's grandfather visited them from time to time. Makino always brought food and clothes for the 3 brothers. One day, Ace, Sabo and Luffy decided to leave Dayton's house and start living independently. They spent some quality time together before a great sorrow befell them. Sabo was caught by his biological father, who had made an agreement with the Blue Jam pirates. Sabo feared that the Blue Jam pirates would harm his beloved brothers, so he made an agreement with his father to go with him and ensure the safety of Ace and Luffy. Luffy and Ace spent their lives thinking about Sabo. While living in his parents' house, Sabo was often teased by his mother and adopted brother Stelly, who called him stupid. One fateful morning, Sabo discovered the real reason why his father brought him home, and it terrified him to the core. He learned that a celestial dragon from the Holy Land was coming to Goa Kingdom, and the royal family of Goa wanted to curry favor by burning all the trash from the kingdom, including the trash mountain of Grey Terminal. Sabo was terrified by this news, knowing that many people lived in Grey Terminal, and their daily lives depended on it. Because Sabo cared about his brother and the people, he ran away from home to save them. Most of the Highland and noble people knew about this, and Ace and Luffy also received the news. On one fateful night, Blue Jam pirates and soldiers from the city started to burn the trash mountain as if it were nothing, while people who lived there were considered nothing but trash. The noble and Highland people spent their night there as usual, while the people of Grey Terminal fought for their lives and their families' lives. In the midst of this incident, Luffy and Ace were caught by Blue Jam pirates and left to die in the fire. In the midst of this chaos, Sabo encountered a mysterious man and complained about the injustice that the poor people were facing. The city even closed its gates to avoid the people of Grey Terminal. Although Goa Kingdom's king had made an agreement with Blue Jam to make him noble in the city in return for his favor, it turned out to be a lie, and Blue Jam pirates were also caught in this fire. So, in the verge of death, Blue Jam wanted to take revenge on Ace and Luffy, so they tried to kill them. Although Ace and Luffy tried to fight back, their struggle proved futile against Blue Jam pirates because of their numbers. Luckily, Luffy and Ace were saved by Dayton and her bandits, who came there to rescue them. In the midst of this chaos, Dayton ordered her bandits to go to a safe place, while Ace refused the order and was determined to fight Blue Jam. So, the other bandits took Luffy and ran towards the safe place, while Dayton and Ace stayed behind to fight Blue Jam. The survivors of Grey Terminal were rescued by the Revolutionary Army, and Ace and Dayton barely made it to a safe place with grave injuries. On the day of the Celestial Dragon's arrival, Sabo set sail and his ship crossed paths with a Celestial Dragon ship. Unable to tolerate pirates' presence, a Celestial Dragon attacked Sabo's ship, leaving him to die at sea in front of thousands of people. One of the bandits, Dogra, brought the news of Sabo's death to Ace and Luffy. While Luffy started crying, Ace refused to believe the news was true. When he finally came to his senses, he wanted to go and kill the person who killed Sabo, but was stopped by Dayton, who taught Ace a lesson about unnecessary actions that could get him killed without proving his worth. Luffy spent some time crying in memories of Sabo, while Ace scolded him not to cry. After a few days, Ace and Luffy received a letter that Sabo had sent before he set sail. In the letter, Sabo wrote that he was worried about them and believed that Ace and Luffy would be alright. He explained that due to unfortunate circumstances, he had decided to set sail early, and since the sea is vast and free, they would meet again someday. Sabo also expressed that he treasured their brotherly bond and told Ace to take care of their little brother, Luffy, since he is weak and a crybaby. The letter made Ace cry. After the incident, Ace made a promise with Luffy to take care of him and vowed not to die. They spent another 7 years together at Mt. Corvo, fighting, sparring, and having fun. Garp would occasionally stop by to give them his fist of love. When Luffy turned 14, his older brother Ace set sail from the quiet shores of Mt. Corvo. While the others saw him off happily, the mayor worried about what Garp would say about it. Now, only Luffy remained at Mt. Corvo with the bandits. He spent 3 more years with them, and when he turned 17, he set sail from Windmill Village, or Fusha Village, saying goodbye to Makino, the mayor, and the other people who had come to see him off. While he was preparing to set sail, the local monster that had attacked him when he was a child appeared again and tried to attack him. This time, Luffy defeated it with a strong punch and made his dream clear. He wants to become the Pirate King. That concludes Part 1. In Part 2, we will cover the story of how Luffy recruited some of his crewmates and the villains he defeated in the process. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon to stay updated for Part 2.